Tawab, Hayawam, Arabai, Shabawai Arabai, Chadash Arabai, which is today is the fourth day of the week, of the fourth week of the month, of the fourth month of the year, which is April. All right. Anakna waha Ibar Yasha'ala, Hawalakim La'atham, Call Shabawai HaRawchaa wa KaAhyashahwath Yahweh Bahasham HaRawchaa. Hey, we the Hebrew Israelites coming to you week in and week out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham HaRawchaa to preach to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians, and Israelite foreigners. Nacham Atam, KaAhyashahwath, Hashemayim Korab, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call Layim La, Yahweh Bahasham HaRawchaa, Bahasham HaKodash, Wa Mashana, Kabadim Zaquim Nawa, Wa Mala'akam Shay Shalazaquim Chagadawa, Wa Chasa, Wa Shalawam, Wa Barakim, Laha Bachayim Shahagav Shalawam. All right, so all praise to the Most High Yahweh, which means he exists. Bahasham, and the name Yahushua he delivers. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Israel, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and mercy, peace, and blessings to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom, which means peace. So today's lesson is entitled, or it's another edition of Ahmar, HaRawchaa, what saith the Spirit. All right. Babal, ThaHayah, KaAhyashahwath. All right, again, Babal, ThaHayah, KaAhyashahwath, which pretty much is Babylon. Babal shall be like unto women, or Babylon shall be as woman. All right, KaAhyashah is as woman, as a woman. The wath makes it plural, which is a woman. So Babylon will be as a woman. So I wanted to go into this article. All right, and another one as well. It says non-explosive testing materials were loaded into a press at the black powder factory in Minden, Louisiana, in February amid its preparations to resume production. I'm gonna skip through this article as well. But pretty much going into the title, it says the U.S. military relies on one Louisiana factory. It blew up. So the military pretty much heavily relies on, like the article said, this particular spot right here could be a base, presumably. I think it's, what's down there? It slipped my mind right now, but yeah, I think somewhere in like Pond, Louisiana or something like that. But continuing on, it might be nearby Pond, Louisiana. It says it also shut down the Soul. It says nearly 2 years ago, an errant spark inside a mill caused an explosion so big it destroyed all the building's equipment and blew up a corrugated fiberglass wall 100 feet. It also shut down the sole domestic source of an explosive. DOD relies on to produce bullets, mortar shells, artillery rounds, and Tomahawk missiles. It says the ramshackle facility makes the original form of gunpowder, known as black powder, a highly combustible material with hundreds of military applications. The product, for which there is no substitute, is used in small quantities and munitions to ignite more powerful explosives. So, if I'm not mistaken, this goes into it says bullets, mortar shells, artillery rounds, and Tomahawk missiles. So pretty much going into the earlier part of it, if I'm not mistaken, goes into like small arms. Small arms fire. And the artillery and the Tomahawk, that might be, on a bigger scale. But continuing on, let's skip down some. It says military suppliers consolidated at the Cold War's end under pressure to reduce defense costs and streamline the nation's industrial base. Over the past 3 decades, the number of fixed-wing aircraft suppliers in the U.S. has declined from 8 to 3. During the same period, major surface ship producers fell from 8 to 2, and today only 3 American companies supply over 90% of the Pentagon's missile stockpile. So being that it says in today only 3 American companies supply over 90%. So that's 3 companies, you see. So they having to work even harder. It says lower tier defense firms are often the sole maker of vital parts such as black powder, and a single crisis can bring production to a standstill. So it's a 90%. They already had to work hard. You see, and being how the economy is going, how it's going now, they have to work harder. You see, because in this line of work, they got to do the training. You see, they got to do the supplies for those that's like, overseas and stuff like that. So, it just like with the economy, you got the freights, you got the ships, and then you got the freights, or you got the truck drivers, you got the trains, and then you got the ships. All right, one is down, the rest of them gonna have to work harder. You see, so being that it's only 3 companies, and it says they supply over 90% of the Pentagon's missiles stockpile. You see, that's gonna burn them out. All right, continuing on. It says today that's emerging as a gnawing problem for the U.S., whether in supplying weapons or ammunition to Ukraine or restocking reserves to prepare for a potential confrontation with China, a new era of great power competition, according to U.S. military officials, defense experts, and congressional staffers. After months of supplying Ukraine with Stingers, howitzers, anti-armor systems, and artillery ammunition, stocks are low in both the U.S. and its NATO allies, especially in 155 Mike howitzer shells and ammunition that has been crucial to pushing back Russian forces. Can you imagine what happened to these supply chains if the U.S. were in an actual state of active war, or NATO wasn't? And being that, again, it was only 3 that's producing 90%. Right now, they say that they pushing out a lot. You see, so if they was to get into a confrontation, what would happen? You see, we can get it in the precepts out of HaRawchaa. Well, I'm going to keep going. This, it says, Jeff Rhodes, executive director of Purdue Institute for National Security, a defense research institute at Purdue University, they could be in trouble very quickly. And I'm going to skip down some. It says, it's a lot. It says the result, well, I'm going to start from right here. It says some domestic suppliers have quit unprofitable businesses altogether, leaving it to both allies and adversaries to supply commodities such as rare earth minerals using state-of-the-art technology. The Pentagon has invested more than $100 million in mining and processing of such minerals. And some of the minerals, it's like stones and stuff in some of those minerals too, which is a side note. What I'm going to continue on, it says, in the U.S., after American companies ceded production to China, it says the result is that the military is increasingly reliant on smaller numbers of contractors for these critical capabilities, said Hamila Najaib Locke, a Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense in charge of industrial base, at a recent seminar that impacts everybody's ability to ramp production. The roots of the current crisis can be traced back 3 decades to, which I'm gonna skip down some. It says the Pentagon's $3.5 million investment in mill upgrades after the recent shutdown is part of an effort by the Biden administration to strengthen the industrial base. It is working with suppliers to address similar weaknesses in munitions, forging and casting, batteries, and microelectronics. So being that, the economy is already taking a hit, and a lot of rounds are going, to other countries, and the cost of, rounds and small arms, and going back to the top of this article, it says something about said something about basically small arms fire. You know, this is tied into the economy as well because it's a lot of money to supply ammunition. You see, and if if you can't supply ammunition for yourself, what are you going to use? I mean, you know, if it was to continue to be just left with your fist, all right, because they've pretty much been supplying Ukraine with Stingers, howitzers, which pretty much is like a big cannon. It says anti-army systems and artillery ammunition, and a small a 40 round, or not a 40 round, but like a 5.56, which you would shoot out of like some type like a carbine, which is like the stock weapon you see for the armed forces. Those bullets are expensive as well. you know but if you can't, if your economy is already hit, you see, and you can't really uh um afford to supply like ammunition and stuff like that, it's again, it ties into the economy, so it's going to further bring down that bruise, you see. But let's get some precepts, because again, pretty much how Babylon read an article a couple months ago, pretty much going into how most of their fleet, the fleet of planes, boats, or aircraft and vehicles, more than half of it doesn't even work, you see. So let's get some precepts tied into the fact of Ahmar, HaRawchaa, what saith the Spirit, Babal, ThaHayah, KaAhyashahwath, Babylon shall be as like unto women, as women. All right, so let's get Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 37. It reads, it says, a sword is upon their horses and upon their chariots and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her, and they shall become as women. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed. All right, I want to get a word in this as well, that word mingled, which is HaRawchaa. Just further proving the point. You see, you had ancient Babylon, you see, but this is referring to current day Babylon. All right. It says the mingled people. It says as mixed, interwoven, mixture, mixed people, mixed company, mingled people, mixed. So pretty much applying this to how Babylon, America, is known as that melting pot, further driving the point home that it's still referring to, America. All right. It says, and they shall become as women. All right, and let's get a precept. How's Babylon going to become as women? This is 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 7. It says, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the weaker vessel. So like unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. And I'm going to get this word for weaker. It says weak, infirm, feeble. Let's get the Strong's definition. It says strengthless in various applications. Literal, you see, the woman is the weaker vessel, literally. It says figuratively and morally. It says more feeble and potent, sick, without strength, weaker, weakness, weak thing. So pretty much compared to the man, you see, the woman is the weaker vessel. All right, and Babylon shall become as woman, going into literally, figuratively, and morally. When you go into the scriptures, ThaHayah, the 23rd chapter, it talks about, or Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, it talks about a valley. All right, going into those low morals. All right, figuratively is low. You see a low vibration. Literally is low. You go to Ma'arab, the west. The west, when you look at the east is still going off right now, you see, but they're on a closer vibration than what the west is moving. You see, so literally, Babylon is weak. All right. So continuing on, let's get Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 30. It says, the mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. All right, so Babylon has became as women. That process has already begun. You see, being that they like, first and foremost, they can't fund, you see, their own military. They're pushing out money to these other places. You see, and then again, point being, the money is low. All right, and then second point is that they can't afford ammunition. You see, and also another thing is like the vehicle, again, to mention the vehicles, the aircraft, and everything in their arsenal pretty much isn't up to par. You see, they don't have that might. That's why it says, further driving the point home, they shall become as women. All right, continuing on, let's get Yahweh Allah chapter 2 and verse 1. Because going into this part, it says they have burned her dwelling places, her bars are broken, because that's pretty much what's going to happen to America, Babylon the Great. This is Yahweh Allah, also Joel chapter 2 and verse 1. It's locked. It says, blow ye the trumpet into Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and strong, there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it. Even to the years of many generations, a fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, yet and nothing shall escape them, referring to the ICBMs. You see that the other countries is going to shoot on this place. It says the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble. As a strong people set in battle array, before their face the people shall be much pain, all the faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks, neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded, showing you that nothing's going to stop it. Stop the ICBMs is 200 million. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run up the wall. They shall climb upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. All right, the earth shall quake before them. You see, it says they shall enter in at the windows like a thief. All right, but just going into the point, it's going into the missiles. Nothing's going to stop them. Every missile has a specific target that's going to hit. You see, again, going into the number of them, 200,000. When you go into the Google, which is it's like an estimate, but it said it's almost like 300. It's like 331.2 million people. So that's almost a missile for every person in Babylon. You see, this place is going to be overkill. Nothing's going to be left of this place. All right, but continuing on, let's get second Isaiah, also Ezra, chapter 16 verse 13. It says, for strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp and shall not miss. Going back to Yahweh Allah, chapter 2. That none shall break their rank. When they begin to be shot in the ends of the world, you can't shoot a regular bow from China to over here. It's talking about the ICBMs. All right, continuing on, let's get Yeshaya, because it said Babylon shall become as women, right? This is Yeshaya, also Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 14. It says, the Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. All right, I want to get this word for staggereth, because we got that. It said a weaker vessel, referring to the woman, Aisha or KaAhyashahwath, which is woman. It says ThaHayah, to err, wander, go astray, stagger, to wander about physically, of sin, wandering of the mind, to be made to wander about, be made to stagger, drunkard, to be led astray ethically. Going back to that First Peter 3:7, it said, weaker vessel, literally, figuratively, and morally. All right, this place is morally, as a woman. That process has started. All right, I'm gonna go back. Yeshaya chapter 19 and verse 15. It says, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, matazarium, kaya matazarium, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. There's no work for Egypt. Going back to the point, it's basically to stimulate this economy. You see, it's nothing to stimulate the economy. There is no healing of thy bruise. Thy wound is grievous. You see, and being that they pumping out all this money into the small arms fire. You see, in the rest of the ammunition they sending over there, they putting a lot of money into that. Shit, JB been sending money over there for the last year. You see, so a lot of that money is going out. You see, and it's continually going out. And then being that they have, it's like what 90% of the like supplies is being bought by like the military is made by three companies, it said in the article. So that's gonna cause for overwork. So they're gonna have to spend more money, you know. So continuing on, it says, in that day shall matazarium be like unto women. Read it back. It says, in that day shall matazarium be like unto women, KaAhyashahwath, and it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord of hosts, which he shaketh over it. Egypt is being as woman. When you look at it, it said that the Lord has mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, has caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. You see, so figuratively, this place is decaying, a moral decadence, more moral decaying. Literally, all right, the men are becoming as women, literally, morally. You know, this place is weak. All right. It says, and the land of Yahweh shall be a terror unto Egypt. HaRawchaa shall Yahweh, and the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt, and everyone that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid of himself, because of the counsel of the Lord of hosts, which he determined against it. All right, and this place is known as spiritual Egypt, Matazarium. You see, it says, in the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt, referring to this truth. You see, chiefly when Elder Abba Bivens stepped on the scene. You see, and even now, you know, even now, because it was another article I had queued up right here, going into what's this dude name? Tucker Carlson. Pretty much, you know, I'm gonna skim through it, because pretty much it says, this is a quote from one of the officials. It says, we're a better country without him bagging on our military every night in front of hundreds of thousands of people. A senior Defense Department official told the news outlet on condition of anonymity. Pretty much, he was saying that he made a mockery. And I'm gonna skip down. It says, another quote. Well, I'm going to read this one. It says, in March 2021, segment Carlson blasted the introduction of flight suits for pregnant aviators, suggesting that the Washington was heading in an entirely wrong direction, unlike its rival Beijing. While China's military becomes more masculine, you can't make it up, man. This goes back to the scriptures. Let's get a precept real fast. This is Ibadiah. This is Ibadiah, Obadiah, chapter 1 and verse 2. It says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. Small goes into Quatan, which means unimportant. You see, they're unimportant. All right, Babylon has become unimportant to these other nations. Let's get another one. This is Yeshaya, also Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 10. It says, it's like all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou become weak as we, art thou become like unto us? And that word right there is chala. And when you go into it, it says weak. All right. So pretty much no longer dominant. All right, tying into the morals, literally, figuratively, the economy, it's all weak, and it's only getting weaker. Thy wound is grievous. You see? Continuing on, let's go back to that article. It says this is a mockery of the U.S. military and its core mission, which is hold on. It says our military needs to become, as JB says, more feminine. Let me read this back. It says, while China's military becomes more masculine as it assembles the world's largest navy, our military needs to become, as JB says, more feminine. Carson said, this is a mockery of the U.S. military and its core mission, which is winning wars. Hey, and this place has became more feminine. Because pretty much some of his points that he said was tying into pretty much anything going against anything going against the status quo here. They don't want any parts of that, pretty much tied into the family of the word. If you don't speak the same thing in this society, they want you off. They want to off you. All right, so let's get some more precepts and I'll close it out. This is I'm Was, also Amos, chapter 5 and verse 13, because pretty much this is going to lead into a famine of the word. And actually, I'm going to get that before I get this. This is I'm Was, chapter 8 and verse 11. It says, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. And they shall wander from sea to sea, from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord and shall not find it. So pretty much that's going to lead into a famine of the word. All right. Going back to Yeshaya chapter 19 and verse 17, talking about Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. I'm referring to this truth because Bab Montazarium in Egypt, if you're speaking against the status quo, they're not going to want you anywhere on social media, or they don't want you to have any parts to take part in their society. They don't want anybody hearing what you're saying. All right. So Yeshaya 19 and 17 is going to lead to Ra'ib Shah Dabar, or Ra'ib Shah Hadabar, a famine of the word. All right. So continuing on, being that they don't want anybody to go against the status quo, things like this is going to lead up into the famine of the word. All right. And during the famine of the word, the men of the Lord are not going to be out there on the highways and byways. We just seen that the guy was like, he called us so-called African Israelites or something like that, but which we don't subscribe to that term, because you have brothers that look like so-called Edomites. I mean, you have brothers that look like Edomites, you see, but their lineage goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's about the spirit, This is I'm Was, also Amos chapter 5 and verse 13. It says, therefore, the prudent shall keep silence in that time, for it is an evil time. I want to get this word for silence. It says damam. It says damam, to be silent, be still, wait, be dumb, grow dumb. So to not say nothing. You see, going back to what the scriptures say, the Lord shall make his men's tongue cleave to the roof of our mouth. You see, because nobody's going to be a reprover for the Lord's people in that time, which we're nearing up into that time. We're seeing all these things happen, Nabawa'ah, by Nabawa'ah, and prophecy. All right. So Adawan Ratazaza by Nayapa, Lord's word, there was a beautiful edification through the spirit. Kahalayim La Yahweh Bahasham HaRawchaa Bahasham Chakodash. A double answer to the elders and apostles of great millstone that told me this truth and rule well. And much respect to you brothers out there pushing this truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. Bashar